All right, so we've got our dog. A little bit too big. Bigger than the king of dinosaurs. I don't like that. The T-Rex doesn't like that. So let's go and shrink this down. So how are we going to shrink the dog down? Well, the first thing we need to do is select it. So we're going to click on this layer, make sure that that layer is selected, and then under Edit, Free Transform, we're going to transform the dog. Now, I never ever go all the way through this. I use Free Transform a lot. It's a really handy feature, so it's really great to remember. Command T, or if you're on a PC, Control T is going to help. Now, when I do this, you can see that I've got a big box. Let me zoom out just a little bit here. And that's called a bounding box. If I click on any of these, it's going to allow me to shrink the dog down. If I click in the center, it's going to kind of shrink towards the center. And this one will go to the opposite corner. So we'll just shrink down to about, make the dog kind of big right there just so it looks good. If I want to make this look like a really stretchy dog or something like that, if I hold down Shift, I can kind of change the proportions. This is different if you're using an older version of Photoshop. These are switched. It used to be that you had to hold down the Shift key to keep things proportionate, but it just assumed that you wanted to keep things proportionate beforehand. If you ever go crazy like this, you can always hit Escape, and that'll get us out of this. I'm going to get back in, Control T, and then just bring the dog down. You can also, if you go over to the corner here, you can see that the cursor changes to a curve, so I can turn my dog around there. And if I hold down Shift, I can kind of turn the dog at a little bit more precise corners. Once you're done, you need to make this basically approved, so you'd hit Enter. Now this runs us into a problem, because let's say that we want to make this into a giant dog, Command T. After I've saved this, if I want to increase the size of my dog, you can see that I've lost a lot of resolution. And that's because when I shrink it down, I am throwing away information. A way to keep things consistent if you're changing size is to turn them from just a normal layer to a smart layer. To do that, I'm going to right click or control click if you're using one of those bizarre one button mice that Apple loves you to have, and I'm going to choose Convert to Smart Object. It's going to think about things a little bit, but you can see now on the corner here, I've got this little icon. That means it's a smart object. What's great about that is now when I transform my dog, everything looks great. But then if I go to transform again, he's going to keep all of that resolution. Now, the downside of this is it's going to make the file larger. Everything that I'm showing you is going to be so that you can undo things and have as much flexibility as possible. The better and better and better that you get with Photoshop, the more that you'll want to compress files once you're 100% sure with it. But the techniques that I'm going to show you are kind of non-destructive techniques. The positive to this is if you've got like a boss or something that always changes his mind and always wants to do things a different way or doesn't really communicate to you completely what they want, you can have these files and you're not going to lose anything. You'll be able to go through and change things for that client. The downside is it's going to make things bigger, and if you're using a computer that's kind of old, it can use more RAM. But I think most computers nowadays can handle this. If you're not using gigantic files, it shouldn't be a problem. So I'm always a huge fan of using smart layers. Let's shrink this guy down so T-Rex doesn't get too scared. All right, the dog is making things look good. It's bringing in people's feelings of fear for the dog. This is all looking all right. Let's get into making this look a little bit more realistic in the next section.